Hey guys, welcome. I've been playing a little bit of Railway Empire lately, and I've had a few people telling me that they've tried the game, they like it, but they've been having some issues with understanding the switches and how the switches work. So I thought I'd put together a little video and show what I know about the switches and how they work. So that's what this is. First off, I want to say I am not by any means an expert on the switches and how they work in this game. I've had my fair share of sitting here with trains that weren't moving and wondering what the heck was going on and why they weren't going where I thought I had told them to go. So yeah, I'm gonna bumble through this. We'll see, and hopefully a few people will find it informative. Please try not to be too harsh in the comments if I'm wrong about something, or if you know somebody else who has done a better video, by all means feel free to correct me. Just try not to be too harsh, please. I would appreciate it. Anyways, here we are, Railway Empire. First off, I'm going to start out in sandbox mode. Here we go. I'm gonna start off in sandbox mode so that we can just do whatever we want here. And I'm gonna start on the west coast. And the first thing I want to point out is this. When you are firing up your game, when you're selecting what you want to do, you have an option here. So if you just find the switches too difficult or you don't enjoy the gameplay with the switches, you can turn it off. You can switch it to this. And that way trains can pass each other and there are no traffic issues. My personal preference is that I like to have it on, and I suspect that probably the majority of players playing this game feel the same way. So
together we shall conquer them all.
Hey, the rest of business.
I don't think it really matters which character we choose for the purposes of this video. So I'm just choosing Roger Smythe because he's the one that we work with all the way through the tutorials. So yeah.
In this mode, you have unlimited cash and no competitors. The task list and research chart are deactivated too.
So we've got here our train stations, or we've got here a blank map to get started on. I'm gonna throw down a couple of stations and connect them. We'll start with this. You can see we've got unlimited funds here, which is nice. So I'm gonna just connect Sacramento and San Francisco. Since money is no object, there we go. And we'll throw down our first couple of first train. From one city to the next. Add an engine. Oh my gosh, all the choices available here. This is so awesome. I've been playing career mode, so I've never seen so many different options for trains before. Some of these I've played with, I've unlocked and played with in-game, but a lot of these I haven't. So I'm gonna pick one that I've played with before. Rogers American, an express train. That way I won't have any unforeseen things. And this might have actually not been a great situation to start with because there aren't a whole lot of places for trains to pass each other here. So let's give it a go. So we've got our first train, which is cool, but you know, we might have a lot of traffic going back and forth between these two cities. Maybe we want the trains to be able to pass each other, going different ways. So that's the first scenario I think we're going to deal with here. I don't think will it let me do this while there's a train on the track? It will. Alright, we're gonna just let that train go. Get out of the way. So we can do our thing here. Off you go, train. Get up to speed. Alright, and we're gonna put in our first switches. So first of all, we want trains to be able to pass each other, one on one side, one on the other side. So we're gonna plop our first switch down here. And it's actually already facing in the direction that I want it to go. I usually have my trains passing on the right, just so it makes it easier for me to organize. I'm gonna hold down the shift key and click, and this way you can see the track moving in this direction, so you know that's the direction that the train is going to be going in. And you can also see, if I remove this signal again, control, you can also see how part of the track is lit up kind of white. There's a kind of a whitish overlay over it. That's showing where the train is going to be stopping. So you know that the train is going to be stopping here in this section of track. So that's the section of track that your signal is applied to. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the signals are always on the right-hand side of the track. So you can see that as the train is approaching, this signal is going to be on the right-hand side. So we're going to do this the same thing in the opposite direction. Now this one, when I plopped it down, it's facing the wrong way. Just gonna turn it around. And now you can see by the movement of the I don't know what to call these. You can see the checkerboard pattern moving there. You can tell which direction the trains are gonna go. So now that we've got that, let's add a second train. And we'll be able to see how this works. And I have to scroll down to our train again. It was the Rogers American, wasn't it? Where did it go? I went too far. I've gone up and down. There we go. So the Rogers American is going to start out back here in San Francisco. And you can see him take the right-hand track. He's actually stopping, so we must have a train coming in the opposite direction. And the other thing I wanted to point out is this here. I'm going to pause to show you guys. If your train is stopped and you don't know what it is stopped for, you can look up here and you can see it's waiting for the San Francisco to Sacramento, which you can see here. They're both called the same thing. Usually it gives one of them a number, a 1 or a 2 or whatever. But it's stopping, waiting for this one because we don't have any stops for that train coming in the opposite direction, coming towards it. So it's going to sit here and wait this whole time for this train to get all the way down to it. Now he's gonna go. Now that he cleared that section. So that's that. So you were able to see how that worked. Next thing I want to show, we're gonna bulldoze our little section that we made here. And instead of doing like a little section for the trains to pass each other, we're gonna extend that all the way down the line. Almost right to the end here. I might have to move this supply tower out of the way. We'll see. So we can do the same thing. This train's going to be on the wrong section of track now, but we can do the same thing with a much longer section of track. You can see the other one, because our signal is still here and applied to this line, you can see that that applies the whole way down. It's like a one-way. So we can put our signal up here. Now it's one way in both directions. We'll speed that up and see how the trains behave. So this one starting out, San Francisco is taking the right-hand track. This one stayed on the left-hand track because it was already there when I did that. And you can see he takes the right-hand track on the way back, which is what we wanted. However, if we add a few more trains to the line, we'll make them all the same engine. I wish I had chosen one that was like either at one end of the list or the other end of the list. I have to keep scrolling to find it here. There we go. And we'll add another one. scroll down to our train. Where'd it go? Rogers American, it's like right in front of me. There it is. Alright. So our new one had to wait for that train to get out of the way before it started out. So let's see what's happening. This train is as loaded up as it's gonna get, but it's sitting here waiting. It's waiting for the San Francisco to Sacramento. It's waiting for, I don't think there's a way to click on it to take us right to the train that it's waiting for in particular. But I suspect that it's probably this one. And the reason why it's waiting for this one is because only one train can occupy a section of track at a time, and we have not added any stop signals. So that means this is one whole great big long section of track here, and we can't have more than one train on it at a time. So that's why that train is waiting there. So we'll add some signals. Making sure that the signal is on the right-hand side, facing in the correct direction. What we're doing now is we're just breaking this track up into different sections so that we can have more than one train on it at a time. So let's see that. See how the trains react. Now our train is going. He's happy to go. The train's in the other direction. Let's see. Let's see what happens with the trains in the other direction. I think he's gonna clear it before. Oh. He's filling up. Alright. Off we go. I think we've actually managed to avoid a traffic jam here. Let's see what happens if we add a couple more trains. So we should make quite a mess here. There's one. He's waiting for another, the one we just created is waiting for another train to clear the station before it can actually be created. We've got kind of a mess going on here at this point. So is that our new one that we just made? I think it might have been. We'll see if we can get a traffic jam going here. Add another train. Alright, here's our nearest train. What I really want is to see how the trains behave on the way back where we haven't added the stop signals. But I think instead of doing that, they're all lined up on this section of on this track where we do have the stop signals. But ideally what you would want is to put stop signals in both directions. And you can see that the track is kind of already divided into sections for you because of the stop signals you've already placed going the other way. So it's really easy to just plunk these down. And then we have our final one here that we already added in the first place. Now we can have trains going in both directions, occupying this great big long stretch of track. I was waiting to see if that train was gonna stop there to illustrate what I've been trying to show. They're not gonna cooperate. Or are they? This one maybe? Yes? Alright. So there we go. There's a perfect illustration. This train has stopped here waiting for this one to clear this section of track. So that's cool. That's exactly what we want. So let's see, what have we talked about? We've talked about the game mode that you choose. Let's see, 2 tracks merging I've got written down in my notes. We've bypassed trains, we've got trains going in both directions, we've got stops. I think one of the biggest things that's caused me issues when it comes to trains stopping and not really knowing why has been because they were stopping waiting for another train that was loading to go to a different station. So I'll show that here. We'll add another station here at Reading and we'll hook it up. to Sacramento. And actually, I'm going to hook it up first of all to this track here. Because I want to show you guys something that really confused me when I first started playing this game. And maybe I'm the only one who got confused about stuff like this, but... So now we've got 1, 2, 3 stations hooked up. By the way, we're probably gonna need, at some point, some maintenance buildings. Let me add those before our trains start breaking down. I usually put my maintenance buildings at the city stations, not the rural stations. Makes more sense to me. And supply towers, which I often forget. Okay. So what I would try to do sometimes is I would say, okay, you know, I've got San Francisco connected to Sacramento, connected to Reading. I want a train that's gonna go all the way there. So let's edit its route and add a third stop. And then I would come over here and be like, why can't I click on this? It's connected, why can't I have a third stop? The reason is this. When I connected the rail line here, I connected to a different track from what this one is connected to. So, if I want it to be able to go, let's extend this out a little bit. All the way from San Francisco to Sacramento to Reading, I need to connect that other track. So let's see if it'll let me do that now. And it will. So there we go. We should be able to, we should have at least one train that'll go all the way from San Francisco to Reading. It stopped. I picked a bad, I chose a bad one to use as an example because it stopped on its way to San Francisco. But, I mean, it allowed us to make the connection. So we know it can go from San Francisco to Sacramento all the way to Reading. So that's something that you need to be aware of, is that they can't just hop tracks when they're at the station. You have to actually connect them. So that's something I wanted to show you. Let's see, what else can I show you guys about why the trains behave the way they do. Let's put in a rural station here. Actually, you know what? I know a better... No, I don't. Let's put in a rural station here. It's kind of nice playing with unlimited funds. Where are we gonna connect? Alright, there's our rural station. Let's say, for example, we want to get sugar to Sacramento. We want to join up with this line here. Have a train. I know this is a bit of a steep incline, so I think I'm going to use... where to go? This one. So now we've got two tracks merging here, and I didn't put any signals in. And that's fine because there's nobody coming. But if I want this train to stop and wait for trains on the other track, which is something that I often do if I have a track going between two cities and another one that's connected to a rural station, I often want the rural one to wait. I can tell this one here to wait for the train coming the other way. So this way, this is the train that's gonna wait. It's gonna stop because the signal is on the right-hand side. Did we actually, I don't think we added any trains, did we? We did? No, I don't think we did. Let's add a train going from Reading, Sacramento. This one here. Oh, did I already have one? I did. And actually, you were able to see this one stop and wait just a second ago. And I almost totally missed it. Alright. That's right, because we didn't have a train that was going from Sacramento to Reading. It was coming all the way from San Francisco. So, we're gonna have a little bit of an issue here with this, between this train and this one. So, yeah, coming to a grinding halt in a second here because they're both trying to occupy the same section of track. That crash of thunder was timely. Oh. Will it not let me bulldoze this? These two trains are waiting for each other. Okay, and I can't demolish the supply tower right now. So let's add that. So what you would think would happen is that now that these tracks are connected, you would think that this train would automatically use this track over here, track number 2, at the station, but it doesn't. You actually have to go in here, edit its route here, and tell it that at Reading Station you want it to use track number 2. Only then will it go to the other one. And off it goes. So that's something that also happens sometimes. And then the final scenario that I can think of where you often find trains waiting for some mysterious reason and you can't really figure out what it is if you have a train coming from one direction and a train coming from the other direction and they both want to use the same track at the station and you're not really aware of it. Like maybe there's no, like this track here has no stop signals or anything, so maybe they're stopped like way back there, and that's when you have to look in here and find out what it is they're waiting for. So I think that about covers it. Oh, the other thing, and you can see this in the tutorial videos, is if we have our 2 trains approaching this junction right here. This one's going to stop and wait for this one to pass, but if I didn't want them to behave in that way, if I had 2 tracks meeting and I wanted them to behave a little bit differently, maybe I want whichever train gets there first to go first. If I give them both a stop, well, that one's already going, but if I give them both a stop, then whichever one arrives first is gonna go. And that's actually in the tutorial videos. In here, in tips and tricks, under signals, they cover that in there. So I think that's about it. Those are the main reasons why I found that I've been puzzled by some of the behavior of the trains in this game. I think that covers about everything I can think of. If you guys have more questions, please let me know, and I would be happy to answer your questions if I'm able to. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.